Hey, True Believers Englentine here with another Comic Book Origins. Today we're talking about the first appearance of the Skrulls. I'm kind of glad Skrulls are getting their day in court, their due, so to speak, with unfortunately a bland TV show, but they have been around, video games, cartoons, the whole nine yards. First created in 1962 by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in issue number Fantastic Four number 2. Now, there is a retroactive first appearance in Amazing Adult Fantasy number 7, but without this book that we're going to talk about today, that one doesn't actually happen. So, as I say, kick back, relax, let's get that party started. And as always, first we look at the cover. This isn't as iconic as the first issue. It's kind of muddled with like a what's going on. The central focus is an invisible woman with an arm stretched over her, so it takes a little bit like, okay, so what's going on here? It's not as concise as some of the greatest of the Fantastic Four covers. The splash page opens and we see the Thing swimming, which, for a rock, good on you. Meet the Skrulls from outer space, the title says. What is happening here? What is the Thing doing swimming miles offshore towards a lonely Texas tower? Why do his eyes gleam with a sinister, crafty light? Silently, powerfully, he swims closer, hidden by the deepening twilight. We see the Thing swim towards a support post and he rips it apart. And we see the tower fall, the people trying to save themselves. The bolts, get to the bolts. That's my really, really bad Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonation. And the guys wondering what caused it look out and see the swimming. They see the swim thinging away. Meanwhile, many miles away in one of America's most expensive jewelry stores. We don't usually take this gem out of the vault to show people, Miss Storm. It's worth almost $10 million. But for you, I can make an exception. And Sue Storm picks up the gem. Yes, it's just what I've been looking for. It is? I must admit, I never really expected anyone to buy such an expensive gem. Then why buy it for your store in the first place, dumbass? But Sue Storm says, I don't intend to buy it. She turns invisible and she's gone. Guards! Guards! And in the Midwest, we are about to witness another fantastic event during the dedication of a gigantic new monument. This priceless statue took 5 years to carve out of solid marble, and now... And we watch as the Human Torch melts it into slag. His blazing body completely melted the statue. He's flying off laughing. Now, how can they possibly see or hear through the fire? You ever wonder what sound the Human Torch makes? But one final deed yet remains to be done at the power plant in the heart of the city. A workman stares as he sees that arm. It can only belong to Mr. Fantastic. He's switching off all the power in the city. It is done. The city has been plunged into utter darkness. Can we believe our startled eyes? Is it possible that the Fantastic Four have really perpetrated those criminal acts? Or is there more to this than meets the eye?
The Transformers, more than meets the eye.
Now we know where the Transformers got it. And we meet up with the doppelganger villains, and they're talking about how they achieved their crimes. The Thing had a detonator in his hands. The Invisible Woman was able to shrink out of sight, making people think that she became invisible. The Johnny Storm mimic had a jetpack, and it just so happens that Mr. Fantastic didn't need any gadgets because, well, that's what their bodies do. And we find out they're 4 aliens who have come to discredit the Fantastic Four, because when you get rid of Fantastic Four, they're going to signal their mothership and launch an attack. And thus we learn the secrets of the incredible feats we have seen. Above us, the Skrulls from outer space have turned all Earth against the Fantastic Four. While miles away in an isolated hunting lodge, the most unusual humans on Earth learn what has happened. The Fantastic Four have become the most dangerous menace we have ever faced. They must be found. They must be punished. Reed says, turn off the radio. We have to think. It's obvious that some foursome is impersonating us, but how? Why? Sue asks, but Reed, how would any humans impersonate us? No one else has our powers. Of course, Johnny responds, I'm not worried. Reed will figure out what to do, and then we'll take care of them, I'll bet. This triggers the Thing, and he says, well, now we're all hunted as monsters. But nobody's catching me without a fight. If they say I'm a menace, I'll be a menace. I'll show them all. Why there was never a what if the Thing became a villain, I'll never know. Or maybe there is, and I don't know. The Thing, and yes, Reed Richards calls him Thing instead of Ben here, throws a rock out, it's a bear's head out the window, and we get Mr. Fantastic wrapping up his arms around Ben Grimm and saying, easy Thing, easy, we can't fight the whole human race. First, we've got to find out what's behind this plan to discredit us. So Reed says, we can't go off half-cocked, we have to wait, we have to have patience. The Thing says, wait, that's all right for you, Torch, at least you're human. Except for it was Reed who said it. But how would you like to be me? I won't wait any longer, I'm out, I'm going to go smash. And Sue actually brings up what I said. Reed, how much more of this can we take? Sooner or later, the Thing will run amok. None of us will be able to stop him. And this leads into a brief recap of how and what powers each of the Fantastic Four got. And that's pretty reasonable, you know. Let's give readers a little bit of backstory so they could catch up. And in all honesty, it's cool to see Reed take responsibility here. So, as he does here when he says, I can't punish the Thing when the fault is mine. And so we enter Chapter 2, or Part 2, Prisoner of the Skrulls. Even as the Fantastic Four ponder their next move, grim, silent figures stealthily creep toward their cabin like a horde of avenging wraiths. And so we see soldiers surrounding the cabin. Attention, Fantastic Four, we have you surrounded. Come out with your hands up and we'll fire. I think you mean or, sir? Or we'll fire. So the Fantastic Four give themselves up, and less than an hour later, they're at a federal prison. Sue Storm takes offense to the fact that the guards said there's no way they can escape, and she says, so they don't think we can escape, eh? They think our powers aren't strong enough, eh? Well, maybe they're right, but I doubt it. And we watch as she slowly fades into invisibility. Johnny Storm finds himself locked in an asbestos-covered room where his flame can't do any damage, but they overlooked one thing. I know that any room, no matter how tightly sealed, must have at least one air vent. And I've found it, says Johnny Storm. And the Thing inside of his prison cell just realizes that if you keep on hitting the same place over and over, eventually it's gotta give. And Mr. Fantastic finds himself in an empty room thinking, well, they don't want me to have anything I can build a weapon out of, but my body is my weapon. And I will search this room until I find one small imperfection, no matter how tiny, a loose rivet, a tiny crack, anything. So we see guards bringing Sue Storm her dinner, and as they open the door, she whips past them invisible, and the guards blow a whistle. Okay, there you go, that was simple. And we see how the Thing bashes out of his prison as the human torch burns and melts his way out of his. Let me see if I can't try that a little bit better. And we see Ben Grimm burst out of his prison as the Human Torch melts his way out of his. And we see Reed Richards going through what looks like as he said, it's a missing rivet. I talk about Silver Age silliness sometimes. The amount of time it would take him to push himself through that little tiny hole, the guards would get there by then. He's just too tall. His mass is too great. To make himself thin enough to go through a screw hole is going to take hours, maybe days. Or you could just turn your brain off and enjoy the comic. So we see the Human Torch provide cover while the other three get into a whirly bird. We did it! We're free! Yes, but for how long as the soldiers shoot up towards them? Not long afterwards, at one of the Fantastic Four's many secret apartment hideouts, it's obvious that our first step is to set a trap to catch the four mysterious characters who are impersonating us. Ben and Johnny argue to whom would be the best for that particular job. Reed tells him to knock it off. He needs to look at some newspapers. Johnny comes up with the bright idea of committing a federal crime by sabotaging a rocket site and hopefully bringing one of the Skrulls out to reveal themselves. And the Thing decides, you know what, now's the time to start a fight while we're planning everything for absolutely no reason. And Johnny's fine taking him up on his offer, but Reed steps in and stops the two of them. You know, their bantering now seems playful. As a matter of fact, it has been for decades, but they really began with a lot of ire and anger. Sue calms Ben down, saying if you keep doing that, we're going to destroy ourselves, the thing says, and sometimes I think I'd be better off, the world would be better off, if I were destroyed. This sets Johnny back a bit, and he says, forget it, thing. I'm not calling him Ben again. I'm not holding any grudges. Listen, gang, I'll attack that rocket and hope that our imitators will attack me. Then watch for my signal. And so, a short time later, we see guards and scientists looking at the rocket. Clear the field. Everything is in readiness. Well, that flash in the sky. Where? Over there, they say, pointing. And we see the torch. Wow, he really did just set that rocket aflame, didn't he? Wow, that's a lot of money, dude. You really are a federal... He is. He's a criminal now. Okay. You could actually say he's a terrorist. And the army starts firing at him with good freaking reason, too. Within seconds, the Human Torch comes from behind a concealing hanger, snaps off its flame, and it's now or never if those imitators are anywhere around. There he is! Torch! Quick! Into the car! Knowing he is taking his life into his hands, Johnny Storm enters the waiting car and sees Reed Richards and Sue Storm. If I didn't know better, I'd swear you were Susan Storm and Reed Richards, two of the Fantastic Four. Well, that's who we're supposed to be, isn't it? Minutes later at the alien headquarters. You fools! Why did you bring him? He's the real Human Torch. That's what I wanted you to think, alien douche nozzle. So the Skrulls claim that since Johnny Storm knows that they are aliens, he can't leave the building, and he says, there, now when the others see my signal, you'll wish you had stayed where you came from, as he shoots off the Fantastic Four flare gun. The Human Torch circles the Skrulls in flames when his doppelganger walks through the door. With the aid of the chemical cylinder, which I have strapped under my shirt, I too can burst into flame. Look out, we're going to collide. I know it's the only way to stop you. And stop him, they do. There, it'll be a few minutes before he can flame on again. And that's all the time we need. The aliens are about to deliver a killing blow when the thing bursts through the walls. He still isn't in time to save you, Torch. Nothing can save you, says one of the Skrulls, holding a gun to Johnny Storm. Part 3, the Fantastic Four fight back. We see Reed Richards reach into a window. Let go of that weapon. Phew! Now I know how the old Indian fighters felt when the cavalry arrived. Never thought we'd track you down, did ya? Says the thing to the Skrulls. Yeah, I read the line. I know, modern twidiots would go freaking nuts. The cavalry's arrived to save the Indian fighters. And, of course, they'll get all angry and crap. But you know what? I read American history. I know what American Indians did to other American Indians, so fair play. One Skrull tries to run off to warn the others while Invisible Woman trips him. Tisk, tisk, don't you know it's impolite to rush past the lady? And we see Mr. Fantastic holding a gun to the Skrulls. All right, playmates, that wraps it up. One wrong move for many of yous, and it'll be your loss. No wonder our leaders dare not invade Earth, says one of the Skrulls, until the Fantastic Four are stopped. Reed tells them, hey, tell us everything about your planet. And the Skrulls say, no, we'll never tell you anything. The thing picks up a big-ass desk. Let me at him. I'll make him talk. And Johnny and Sue try to stop him. And so Mr. Fantastic changes tactics and says, hear that? This is your last chance. Talk or I'll turn the thing loose on you. No, no, yells one of the Skrulls. Keep that monster away from us. We'll tell you what you want to know. We Skrulls have an invasion fleet waiting above your atmosphere, but before we attack Earth, our leaders wanted to be sure that the Fantastic Four would be unable to fight us, for we know of your dread powers. Oh, Silver Age silliness, you always rear your head at such lovely times. Nowadays, of course, as we even see on that boring TV show, they would just quietly assimilate throughout Earth, taking over positions of power. So they're wondering about the fleet that was mentioned and the fact they can't get any more information. And they say, well, what can we do to stop an entire invasion? There's only one thing to do, says Reed Richards. They masqueraded as us, now we pose as them. And the Skrulls sit tied up behind them. Apparently forgetting the fact that each of them have similar powers to Mr. Fantastic and therefore can escape easily. Minutes later, the four defeated Skrulls reveal the secret of their hidden spaceship. And with a silent prayer, the Fantastic Four head into, what? It looks like an innocent water tower on top of this building, and they blast off into space, seeing that the mothership looks the size of an entire Earth city. Which one? We don't know yet. The real Skrull leader approaches them and says, "So you returned from your mission. Are the Fantastic Four dead or imprisoned?" And Reed Richards says, "No invasion. The Fantastic Four cannot be beaten. Earth's defenses can defeat us." And he hands an envelope to the actual Skrull leader. And thus we get an in-comic reference of Marvel Comics. Those are some of the Earth's most powerful warriors. And Reed thinks to himself, I pray he doesn't expect that they're actually clipped from Strange Tales and Journey into Mystery, now on sale at magazine stands near you. Reed tells him of thousands of space mines that would destroy an invading army, not to mention an army of giant monstrous insects ready to crush any alien invasion. The leader reacts, "Incredible, unbelievable. We've got to leave this galaxy at once before those terrifying creatures discover us. If you hadn't warned me in time, we would surely have been all slain." The leader tells Reed Richards to unmask, but he says, "No, we have to stay behind to remove all evidence of our presence on Earth, and we shall sacrifice ourselves so that you will be safe." And for that, the leader gives him an award. You would think as a race of shapeshifters that the Skrulls would actually have some sort of instinct to be able to tell who is who, even if they are in a... The four begin their journey back home, and the Thing notices, "Look, we're heading back into the radiation belt again. It made a monster of me once. What further harm will it do to me this time?" "Easy, fella," Johnny Storm says as they look out the portal. "We've got to pass through it. There's no other way." This sends the Thing into a fit. The Thing, savage, powerful, a juggernaut of destruction, cowers like a frightened child as the spaceship plunges through the mysterious cosmic belt. And then it happens. And we all watch as the Thing changes into Ben Grimm. But at the split second, hang on, we've landed. Part 4 of our story, Captured. Stepping out of the now motionless ship, 4 pairs of eyes are blinded by the glare of giant floodlights. We see it's the cops. They have their guns drawn on the Fantastic Four. Reed tries to explain, "Chief, before you try to arrest us, let me tell you the true story of..." "Save it, Reed. I've got a job to do and I'm doing it." Ben Grimm, thinking he's still the Thing, threatens the officer. The officer looks at him and says, "I've never seen you before in my life." Ben says, "Never saw me, but who you kidding, mister? There ain't anybody on Earth doesn't know the Thing when they see him." And everybody says, "Ben, look at yourself." So is this Stan Lee telling us that being Ben Grimm and being the Thing actually feels the same? But Ben is elated. "What? Let's have your mirror. Hey, I'm not a monster anymore. I'm a man again." And of course, Sue's very happy for him. "My face, my hands, they're human." And then the transformation begins again back into the Thing. And I do have to say, this is a cruel bit. And granted, you know, Stan and Jack, they created it this way, but holy crap. Just imagine this was you. This is cruelty on the part of the creators toward their character. But after everything settles down, the police chief still says, "Hey, I'm taking you in." Reed Richards says, "Okay, fine, but before you do, just take me to my apartment and I'll explain everything." Because that's how the law works. And even though the dialogue tells us that the cops do not believe Reed Richards' story about shape-shifting aliens, he's still taking them to the apartment. And at the apartment, the police confidently open the door and are met by, "Holy Hannah, that thing was never spawned on Earth. Shut the door again. I can't. It's too late." And the Thing takes care of the giant snake as looks like a mace monster walks out of the room. But Johnny Torch flames on, scaring the monster with his intense heat. Reed Richards gets to display his power by catching one that's trying to escape as a common bird. And moments later, after the 3 Skrulls have changed back to their normal forms, "Well, Chief," says Reed, "what have you to say for yourself now? Looks like I may start believing in Santa Claus, too. So they're the characters who impersonated you 4 and committed those crimes, eh?" "That's right. The 4th one is on his way to another galaxy, now with the rest of his invasion fleet. Imagine, you 4 foiled an interplanetary invasion and we've been hunting you like criminals." And that's the Marvel Universe in a nutshell, if you ask me. And so they ponder what to do with the aliens because, yes, you want to leave this to the common beat cop or, definitely not the feds. But Reed says, Chief, will you trust us to solve the problem for you? So the police chief says, yeah, I'll trust the Fantastic Four to handle everything. Sue says, what will we do with them, Reed? Johnny ponders. No matter what we do, they can always change their form and escape. There's one way we could be certain they won't escape, Reed says. The aliens beg not to be killed. Reed says, so be it. I will tell you what to change into, and then I will hypnotize you so that you will forget your previous identities. You will remain what you become for as long as you live. And the aliens ask, will we have a peaceful existence? And can you promise we'll be contented? And so it came to pass that the 3 captive Skrulls became the most contented creatures on Earth as they grazed peacefully out in the pasture, and we see they turned into cows. So ends the menace of the Skrulls, Reed says. Yeah, but I've got a feeling there's even worse trouble ahead. Hey, Thing, how come you're such an optimist? Ha 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 ha! I assume there should be a laugh tracks as everything comes to an end and a close right here. So there you go, gang. That is the first appearance of the Skrulls. Now, if you enjoyed this video, consider clicking on the first appearance of Nick Fury or just the whole Jack Kirby playlist. Every freaking August, I try to add to it, and it's a lot of fun. I love exploring his work. Obviously, he's one of the greats, so please click on one of those, and if you haven't done it yet, the subscribe. So I don't even know if I'm pointing to the right thing where I'm going to put it. Also, don't forget to click like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done it already. And if you do like the videos, go on over to Ko-Fi. Links in the description below. Drop $1 in the tip jar. There's literally something there. Hey, it's the tip jar. I like that content. I want to support it. That is cool. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good night.